Exposed. How I transformed from lazy to my sister's life-saving hero in just 30 days. Jake sat on the worn couch, its springs practically begging for mercy under his weight. The air in the small living room was thick not just with the scent of takeout that had become their diet, but with suffocating expectations and disappointments. Looking at his reflection in the dark TV screen, all he saw was a ghost of the man he once hoped to be. A lazy label stuck to him like glue, plastered on by family who wore their work ethic as armor. At 28, he felt like a failure, a living representation of dreams deferred. His sister Emma, always the overachiever, buzzed around their cramped suburban home, juggling 2 jobs to provide for her 2 kids. She was strong, the lean muscle of battle honed over years of relentless work. Watching her tireless hustle only amplified Jake's own sense of despair. He hated that he couldn't step up, couldn't relieve the pressure in their home. Their neighborhood, with its peeling paint and cracked sidewalks, echoed the pains of the American dream, a struggle where houses looked like faded photographs of better days. Every summer barbecue wafted into the air, filling it with laughter and music. But for Jake, it served as a painful reminder of his stagnation. Then the avalanche hit. Eviction notices buried their kitchen table, a grim mountain of fear and anxiety. One afternoon, the unthinkable happened. Emma collapsed. A silent scream ripped through Jake's chest, waking him from a dormant complacency. Without her, what would happen to her children? Panic gripped him. He needed to do something, anything. In the hospital waiting room, he faced defeat after defeat, his attempts at finding financial aid all ending in humiliating refusals. He hung his head low, but a glimmer of hope flickered to life when he wandered into a local community center. Mr. Thompson, a wise old veteran with deep wrinkles etched by time, caught his eye. There was something in the man's stories of resilience that struck a chord within Jake. It was as if a dam broke inside him, letting loose dreams he had suffocated for far too long. The next day, with a new sense of urgency, he picked up small jobs around the community, mowing lawns, cleaning garages, anything to prove that he wasn't just the burden his family thought he was. The more he worked, the more he felt himself breaking free from the confines of that lazy label. Small victories started piling up, each one chipping away at years of self-doubt. But whispers lingered. "When's Jake gonna get a real job?" echoed in his mind from family members who didn't understand the pressure of their world. Just when he felt poised to confront them, another wave crashed down. His last side gig left him injured, dispiriting him. Jake found himself at the crossroads again. Would he allow the shadows of the past to swallow him whole, or would he rise, embodying the strength Emma so desperately needed? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each day felt like a test, but Jake could sense a shift. The urgency of his life wasn't just about him anymore. It was about holding Emma's family together. As the clock ticked louder, the weight they carried started transforming into a fuel that propelled him forward. But the cliffhanger of doubt remained, whispering in his ear. Would he break under the mounting pressure or finally step into the role he was meant to play? The question loomed, heavy yet hopeful, as Jake braced himself for a defining moment that could change everything. Jake stood in the small, dimly lit kitchen, staring down at the crumpled bills scattered across the table. Each one felt like a weight pressing on his chest. This was their reality now, days filled with uncertainty and nights haunted by fear. He could still hear the distant sounds of laughter coming from the neighborhood barbecue across the street, a world that felt painfully out of reach. With every passing moment, he felt like he was sinking deeper into a quicksand of self-doubt. But this time, as he strained to summon the old frustration that had driven him before, he found something else simmering just beneath the surface. It was a nagging feeling that told him hearts were in the balance. Emma needed him now more than ever, not just as a brother, but as a man who could change their existence. He turned back to the bills, a flicker of determination igniting within him. If he wanted to help Emma, if he wanted to give her children a fighting chance, he needed to stop viewing himself as just a younger brother. He was capable. He was strong. He could be more than just what others labeled him. Jake grabbed his jacket and pushed open the door, the stale air of the house giving way to the crispness of an early evening. The sun hung low, casting golden hues across the sky, and with each step away from the house, he shed pieces of that old identity. Mowing lawns and babysitting were stepping stones. He wanted a real job, a job that brought stability first for Emma and then for himself. He couldn't stay trapped in the shackles of lazy any longer. As he walked through the neighborhood, he passed familiar faces, neighbors who had known him since he was a kid. He could see the pity in their eyes when they glanced his way, matching the echoes of doubt in his heart. But something had shifted. Their gazes didn't intimidate him as they once did. They became reminders of what he needed to fight against. Jake found himself at a local diner, a bustling hub filled with chatter and clinking dishes. His stomach growled as he eyed the plates of food being delivered. He hadn't eaten much during the last few days, but hunger was now a familiar companion. As he sat down at a booth and ordered a coffee, the waitress, a middle-aged woman with warm, inviting eyes, flashed him a smile. "Long day?" she asked. "Yeah, you could say that. I'm trying to change things up," he replied, surprised at the strength in his own voice. The reflection of his hopeful determination stared back at him in that busy diner, and he realized it was the first time in a long while he felt even a hint of joy about the future. Just as he was about to share more about his plan to find a decent job, the front door swung open, ushering in a gust of cool air and an unexpected figure. Mr. Thompson. The old veteran stood there, his familiar weathered face breaking into a knowing grin. "Jake," he called out, striding toward him. "I've been looking for you. We need to talk about something big." Jake's heart raced. There was urgency in Mr. Thompson's eyes that mirrored the intensity of Jake's own determination. As they spoke, Jake felt the pieces beginning to fit together. New opportunities could be on the horizon. Would this meeting turn the tide? Would it be the key to pulling Emma's family out of the depths? As hope bubbled within him, something simmered just below the surface. He couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would lead to a choice that would define his own future as much as it would save his sister's family. The tension between fear and hope gripped him tight. What big plan did Mr. Thompson have up his sleeve? Would it really be enough to change everything? Mr. Thompson slid into the booth across from Jake, the weight of his presence filling the space between them. The clamor of the diner faded into a distant hum, and all Jake could focus on were those intense eyes, the lines of experience etched deeply on the man's face. "I've been keeping an eye on you, kid," Mr. Thompson began, his voice steady and reassuring. "I know things have been tough, but you've got potential. A spark that you might not even see in yourself yet." Jake felt a blush creep up his cheeks. Compliments were rare treats in his world. "Thanks," he murmured, unsure of how to respond. "There's a position opening at my construction company," Mr. Thompson continued, leaning slightly forward. "We need clerical help, but it's more than just filing papers. You'd be on-site learning the trade, and I think you would make a good foreman someday." The words hit Jake like a blast of cold air. "Me? A foreman?" he repeated, half in disbelief. "I've never done anything like that before." "Exactly," Mr. Thompson replied, his grin widening. "And that's the point. You'd be learning from the ground up. This isn't just a job, Jake. It's an opportunity, a path to your future." Jake clenched his fists on the table, battling the emotions swirling within him. A surge of adrenaline tackled against an avalanche of doubt. "I don't know, sir. What if I mess up? What if the guys don't take me seriously?" "Listen to me," Mr. Thompson said, his voice firm yet filled with compassion. "Everyone is scared at first. You show up, you work hard, and you don't stop showing up, especially when it gets tough. People respect that. And believe me, if you're worried about Emma and her kids, this could be your way to help." In that moment, everything crystallized for Jake. He imagined Emma sitting on the couch with her children, their laughter reverberating through the walls of the house that seemed to shrink around them with every bill that arrived. He could change that. He could help provide a home filled with the warmth of safety instead of uncertainty. "I'll do it," he said, the words spilling out before he could think twice. "I'll take the job." Mr. Thompson's smile widened, eyes glinting with encouragement. "Good. We start training Monday. Just remember, it won't always be easy, but you've got what it takes." As they wrapped up the conversation, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was the moment he'd been waiting for. A shift, a doorway opening to a life he had always feared was out of reach. He felt a thrill of hope coursing through him. "Thank you, really," Jake said genuinely. "You don't know how much this means to me." Mr. Thompson waved it off, but his expression said it all. "Just keep your head up and do your best. I'll be rooting for you." Walking out of the diner, Jake felt lighter. The sun had dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of purple and orange. For the first time in a long while, the weight on his shoulders felt manageable. But the night air also carried a chill of uncertainty. What obstacles would he face? Would he truly be able to rise up and take on this new responsibility? As he walked back home, those questions buzzed like bees in his mind. He reached the front porch, his heart pounding with excitement and a hint of fear. Could he really transform into the man Emma needed? Jake sighed, determination flooding through him. The answers were just beginning to unfold. What awaited him in this challenge, in this new journey? Would he redefine not only his life but also theirs? Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough, but in the shadows of his thoughts, another question lingered. Would he be ready for everything that came with change? The morning light streamed through the worn curtains, casting golden stripes across Jake's bedroom. Each beam felt like a nudge, urging him awake. He sat up, heart racing with a mix of excitement and dread. Today was the day. He dressed quickly, pulling on a pair of sturdy work boots and a clean shirt. In the mirror, he caught a glimpse of himself, a young man on the brink of something new. It was a face that had seen too much and done too little. But hope shimmered in his eyes today, like the spark Mr. Thompson had mentioned. When he arrived at the construction site, Jake's stomach fluttered. A chorus of men in hard hats filled the area, some lifting heavy materials, others deep in conversation. He felt small, a part of a world much larger than himself. He took a deep breath, reminding himself of Mr. Thompson's words. "Just show up." "Hey, you must be Jake." A voice pulled him from his thoughts. It was Mike, a burly guy with a welcoming smile. "Thompson's been talking about you. Come on. I'll show you the ropes." Relief washed over him. Mike seemed friendly and ready to help. They walked together and Mike pointed out different parts of the site. "This here is where we're building the new gym. It'll be a good project for you to learn on." Jake nodded, trying to absorb everything. His mind was racing with new terminology: rebar, trusses, scaffolding. It felt like learning a foreign language, but there was something exhilarating about it. The smell of fresh timber and the sound of drills gave him a sense of purpose. As the day wore on, Jake found himself grappling with tasks he'd never imagined doing. He stumbled and fumbled through the work, but Mike was patient, guiding him through simple tasks, showing him safety measures, and offering words of encouragement. "Hey, don't sweat it. We all start somewhere," Mike assured him as Jake awkwardly measured out materials. "Just keep your head up. You're doing great." That evening, as he trudged home, exhaustion weighed heavily on his limbs, but his spirit soared. He had made it through the first day. Emma was waiting for him at the door, eyes wide with curiosity. "How was it?" she asked, her voice filled with warmth. "It was really good," he said, still buzzing with excitement. "I learned so much. I think I can really do this, Em." Her smile brightened the room, and for a moment, Jake felt invincible. Yet as he sat across from her at the dinner table, recounting his day, a nagging worry prickled at the back of his mind. What if this wasn't enough? What if he couldn't keep up the momentum? The thought of failing became an unwelcome guest at their dinner table. Jake wanted to push it away but couldn't shake the creeping doubt. Would the guys respect him? Would Mike continue to support him? And what if he stumbled in front of everyone? Despite those fears, he felt a growing determination. This job was his chance to pave a better future for Emma and her children. He couldn't back down now. The next morning arrived too soon, but there was no turning back. As he stepped onto the construction site, the noise seemed louder, more intimidating. Would the crew accept him? Would they see the potential Mr. Thompson saw? He took a deep breath, squared his shoulders, and stepped forward. But as he approached the group, a sinking feeling settled in his chest. What if today was the day everything changed? Would he rise to the occasion or crumble under the pressure? The weight of possibility hung heavily in the air. Jake caught Mike's eye across the site, and the smile on his face filled him with hope. One step at a time, he reminded himself. One step at a time. As he walked toward the crew, he could already see the first challenge ahead, a massive beam being hoisted above. Could he help raise it? Would they let him? He took another step forward, uncertainty coursing through him like electricity. What awaited him now could change everything. The roar of machinery echoed around Jake, nearly drowning out his racing thoughts. He watched as a group of men expertly maneuvered a massive steel beam above their heads, sunlight glinting off its surface. It was a simple task, yet it felt monumental. Could he even lift it? His hands tingled with nerves, ready to betray him. "Come on, Jake. You ready?" Mike's voice cut through the din, pulling him from his spiraling thoughts. Jake hesitated, searching for courage in the friendly face that seemed to promise support. "Yeah, let's do this," he called, forcing a grin. The moment he stepped closer, he could feel the heat radiating from the metal beam, making the challenge more real. A few eyes turned toward him, and he felt the scrutiny wash over him like cold water. Under Mike's watchful gaze, they began to lift. The sheer weight sent shockwaves through his body, but as the beam moved, something shifted within him. Adrenaline surged. His muscles strained, but he pushed against the heft alongside the crew. Felt good, this contribution grounding him in the moment. In a few heart-pounding seconds, the beam was secured. Cheers erupted, and Jake couldn't help but join in the laughter and claps. For the first time, he felt like he was more than just an outsider. He was part of a team. The men around him exchanged glances, nodding in agreement. Maybe Jake could do this after all. "See? I told you you had it in you." Mike clapped a hand on his shoulder, and the warmth of approval melted away some of Jake's earlier doubts. He was riding the wave of energizing camaraderie when a voice interrupted his high. "Hey, new guy." It was a guy Jake hadn't met yet, stockier with a face that screamed skepticism. "Last I checked, you hadn't erased your lazy title, right?" The laughter around the crew quieted. Jake's heart sank. Here it was the moment he feared. All his insecurities surged back, threatening to crush the little victory he'd just tasted. Instinctively, he shrank back, ready to deflect the jibe. But Mike stepped in. "You're just jealous, Mark. Jake's the real deal." His voice was firm, cutting through the tension. The crew exchanged murmurs, looking back and forth between the two men. Those words hung in the air like a lifeline, pulling Jake back from the edge of doubt. He straightened, met Mark's gaze, and felt a flicker of defiance. "I may have come from a different place," he said, the words spilling out with conviction. "But I'm here to change that. I won't be lazy for long. Just watch." Mark raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed, yet the flicker of respect was unmistakable in his eyes. A few chuckles returned, but they felt lighter, less venomous. With a shaky breath, Jake found himself laughing too. A release of pent-up fear now turned into fuel. The rest of the day flew by, filled with laughter and hard work. With each completed task, each shared joke, he felt the walls of isolation crumble. The sense of belonging was intoxicating. That evening, as he headed home, he felt different. He replayed the day's events in his mind. Was it real? He had stood up for himself. He had lifted a burden both literally and figuratively. Emma greeted him with her warm smile, and Jake couldn't help but share what had happened. Each story felt like a piece of a puzzle fitting into place, illuminating a path he never thought possible. "I really think I'm starting to find my footing," he told her, a lightness in his heart that felt foreign yet exhilarating. Of course you are. It's just the start, Jake. She beamed, wrapping her arms around him. He could almost see the future shifting, shining brightly in front of him. But as he settled into his bed that night, doubt still whispered at the edges of his mind. Would tomorrow be different? Was this new camaraderie real or merely an illusion? As the stars twinkled outside his window, Jake realized he hadn't faced the hardest part of his journey yet. Each day would require him to dig deeper, to confront not just the heavy beams but the heavy burdens within himself. Could he keep this new momentum alive? Would he truly transform in the days to come? Tomorrow would tell the tale. Morning kicked off with a mix of nerves and excitement wrapping around Jake like a tight hug. As he stood in front of the mirror, he practiced his smile, trying to shake off the remnants of doubt from last night. Today had to be different. Today he would prove that he was more than just a label, ready to take on the world. Emma called from the kitchen, her voice cutting through his thoughts. The smell of coffee hung in the air, mixing with the scent of toasted bread. He could always count on her to bring light to his mornings. "Yeah, let us do this," he replied, the words feeling stronger this time. He felt a flicker of determination that ignited into something more as he headed out the door. At the sight, the energy was already electric. The crew was gathered near a stack of materials, and Mike caught his eye, giving him a thumbs up. Jake responded with a nod, but he still felt the undercurrent of anxiety buzzing inside him. Could he really keep this up? "Today," Mike announced, "we're starting on the framing. Pack up your tools, we're diving into it." There was no time for hesitation. They were on a mission. As they worked, Jake fell into step with the rhythm of the crew. He hefted with beams, twisted screws into place, and soon found himself cracking jokes with a few of the guys who had previously kept their distance. Something inside him shifted. He wasn't just part of the action, he was driving it. But then there was Mark, still lurking at the edge, never fully relaxing in the group. His eyes watched Jake closely. The shadow of doubt returned, but Jake refused to let it creep in. He refused to falter. In a moment of bravado, Jake grabbed a particularly hefty piece of lumber. He felt the weight pressing down hard on his shoulders, but he lifted it anyway, moving with purpose. There were murmurs around him, and he risked a glance at Mark. "Look at you, new guy," Mark called out, folding his arms but with just the slightest hint of a smile. "Guess you're not just a talker." Jake's heart raced. Was that approval? Confusion washed over the crew, rippling like a pebble tossed into a pond. He felt the tide shift from skepticism to curiosity, from a label to a teammate. By lunchtime, Jake was on a high. Laughter danced around the table as stories were shared, and for the first time, it felt like family. He leaned back, feeling the warmth of acceptance wrap around him like a well-worn blanket after a long day. But when his phone buzzed in his pocket, the high started to falter. It was a message from his mom about his dad's health. The words mirrored the worry that had crept back into his mind, doubt mingling with fear. Suddenly, the carefree moment slipped away, leaving an unsettling weight in its place. "Everything okay?" Emma asked as she walked up beside him, the concern in her voice grounding him. He hesitated, trying to mask the turmoil stirring within. "Yeah, it's just family stuff," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. The truth was he felt cornered. Losing himself to those old doubts sounded much easier than fighting back again. "Hey," Emma said softly, "whatever it is, you don't have to carry it alone." As Jake looked deep into her understanding eyes, he felt the weight lift slightly. Maybe he could share this burden. Maybe there was a way to transform not just the perception others had of him, but also how he saw himself. As he took a deep breath, he realized he had another battle ahead, one where he had to not only prove his worth to the crew, but also reclaim the joy of family. What if, instead of hiding from his fears, he faced them? What if he took charge of his family situation? He turned to Emma, determination swirling inside him. "You're right," he affirmed. "I'm done hiding. This is my time to fight." But that meant stepping into a storm he hadn't prepared for. Could he really juggle this new job and his family's health? Just then, a loud crash from behind them ripped through the moment, and all eyes turned. The very beam they had lifted yesterday, now precariously leaning, was about to fall. What lay ahead could change everything. Jake's instincts kicked in as the beam tilted ominously, tossing aside any remnants of doubt. Time seemed to slow. He darted forward, adrenaline fueling his movements. "Watch out," he shouted, urgency hitching a ride on his voice. The crew scrambled, but Jake's focus narrowed in on the beam. In a swift, calculated decision, he lunged and grabbed it fiercely. Muscles strained, heart racing against his ribcage. He felt the raw power of determination surge through him. He barely registered the gasps around him. It was all about the beam and the safety of his teammates. "Hold it steady," Mike's voice roared from behind him, joining Jake's efforts. Jake bit his lip, gritting his teeth, sheer will overpowering physical fatigue. Together they fought against the weight, finding a tentative balance. With one last heave they secured it in place. The crew erupted into applause, a collective cheer wrapping around him. Jake stood there, breathless and shaken, a light glaze of sweat forming. They weren't just acknowledging the risk he took. They were recognizing him as part of the team. Mark approached, a broad grin breaking through his usual demeanor. "Not bad, new guy. Not bad at all." Jake felt a weight lift off his shoulders. Acceptance, the kind he had hoped for, was tangible in the air. But the moment felt fragile, as if the applause drowned out something deeper. Jake sneaked a glance at Emma, who stood a few steps away, pride lighting her eyes. Her support felt like a solid ground beneath him, but a different thought gnawed at him: his dad. How could he celebrate this victory when a storm brewed back home? As the crew moved back to work, Jake found a moment alone. He pulled out his phone, staring at the message again. "Dad's having a rough night." Those words bounced around in his mind like the echo of a distant thunderstorm. "Hey," Emma's voice broke through his thoughts. "You all right?" She walked over, brow slightly furrowed, hand resting gently on his arm. It was a small gesture, but one that anchored him. "Yeah, just thinking," Jake replied, battling the mix of emotions swirling in his gut. "I feel like I'm finally starting to fit in, but then there's my family." She nodded, understanding flickering in her eyes. "You can't put all that weight on yourself. You're doing the work here, you've made progress. But you need balance, too." Balance. The word rolled around in Jake's mind. It was true. He couldn't carry the burden alone. And maybe he didn't always have to. "Maybe I could talk to my dad," he mused quietly, almost testing the thought. "Share what's going on." "Absolutely. Sometimes it helps to be raw and honest. It might even give you both some relief," Emma suggested, her voice gentle yet firm. He bit his lip, contemplating the idea. Sharing his struggles might show his dad that vulnerability didn't equate to weakness, but rather the strength to face the storm together. Suddenly, the energy buzzed around him, the world bustling with life as lunch ended and the crew moved into the afternoon. But Jake felt rooted to the spot, a spark igniting deep within. He drew in a sharp breath, the determination flooding back. "Okay," he said, making a decision. "I'll call him tonight. I need to do this." Emma's smile widened, radiating warmth. "That's the spirit. We're all in this together, right?" As Jake returned to the site, tools in hand, he felt a mix of hope and trepidation. Taking charge of his family was the next big step, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this battle would require more than just strength. It would need honesty, vulnerability, and the willingness to truly engage. But just as he was getting into the rhythm of work, the ground beneath him rumbled slightly. The foundation was shifting. A foreboding sensation crept in again, sharper this time. What hidden dangers were lurking, waiting to test him? Would he be able to confront them, or would he falter at the moment he needed to stand the strongest? Jake steeled himself, ready to push forward, but knew that the true storm was just beyond the horizon. Jake's heart raced as the ground beneath him trembled again. This wasn't just a figment of his imagination. Something was definitely off. The familiar cacophony of tools clattering and voices raised in conversation faded into a dull hum as his focus sharpened. "Did you feel that?" Mike called out, his face a mask of confusion. Yeah, something's wrong, Jake shouted back, his instincts screaming at him to take action. He scanned the site, his eyes darting from the shaky pillars to the anxious faces of his teammates. They needed to regroup. He could feel the tension in the air, thick and heavy like storm clouds before a downpour. Everyone, gather round, Jake commanded, surprising even himself with the authority in his voice. The crew hesitated, but they followed, curiosity mingled with concern. Once they were assembled, Jake took a deep breath, striving not to let fear creep into his tone. I don't know what's going on, but I've got a bad feeling the ground isn't stable, he explained, trying to sound calm. Let's take a step back and check for cracks or shifts in the foundation. Safety first, right? Emma stepped closer, her brows knitted in worry. Jake, do you think it's serious? He met her gaze, the weight of uncertainty hanging between them. We'll make sure it's fine, he said, forcing a smile to ease her tension, though inside he was anything but certain. As the crew dispersed to inspect, he felt the weight of leadership settle on him. It wasn't just about fixing the beam anymore. It was about the safety of everyone around him. They trusted him now. That thought flickered like a candle's flame, flickering but bright. But could he truly keep them safe? Minutes passed like hours as they searched for any signs of trouble. The ground was a mix of asphalt and dirt, but something felt different about it. An uneasy silence settled in the air, faint echoes of shifting earth and the quiet rustle of construction materials only amplified the tension. Then, suddenly, a loud crack split through the air, halting everyone in their tracks. What was that? Mark yelled, his face pale. Jake turned toward the sound, gaze locked on a section of the site that suddenly seemed to be sinking. Back away, he yelled, adrenaline surging. Now, panic erupted as the team scrambled. Jake's voice cut through the chaos. One at a time. Don't run. He guided them back, remembering Emma's words about balance. He needed to guide people, not just protect them, but lead in a way that would keep everyone calm. As the team hurried away, Jake glanced back, his heart plummeting. The ground split wider, fissures stretching like dark veins. Was this construction project becoming a trap? His phone buzzed again. He pulled it out, and his stomach knotted. A text from his dad. Not doing well, son. Can't keep this up. The storm wasn't just at work. It was trending toward his family, too. Jake felt a wave of frustration wash over him. He was standing at a crossroads between two storms, the one here and the one at home, and he didn't know which to face first. Jake, Emma's voice broke through his spiraling thoughts. We need to get out of here. He felt the ground tremble once more, stronger this time. An overwhelming urge surged through him. I can't let fear dictate my actions. Okay, let us move to the trucks, he shouted, rallying the crew. But even as he spoke, doubts crept in. Would they make it out in time? Would he have the courage to face his dad later that night? They fled toward the trucks as the ground continued to tremble ominously beneath them. The once familiar sight now resembled a creature waking from slumber, ready to unleash its fury. As they reached the vehicles, Jake realized this moment was defining. Today wasn't just about construction. It was about finding the strength to face whatever lay ahead, both at work and home. He looked back once more, unsure whether the storm beneath their feet or the one waiting for him on the other end of the phone would break him. But there, in that moment, he felt a flicker of hope. He wouldn't shy away. Whatever came next, he would confront it head-on. And as Jake steadied himself for the path ahead, the ground shook again, this time more violently, leaving him questioning everything he thought he knew. What would he do when everything fell apart? Would he stand strong, or witness it all crumble? Jake's heart thundered in his chest as the tremors rippled once more, forcing him to grasp the truck's door for support. He had to remain steady, calm, and lead his team through this chaos. Everyone inside, now, he shouted, the urgency in his voice piercing through the panic. Mike was the first in, followed by Emma, her eyes wide with fear but resolute. Jake, Emma yelled, glancing out at the sight, a worried frown crossing her features. What about everyone else? We'll get to them. Just buckle up. He climbed into the driver's seat, taking a shaky breath. If they could just get everyone to safety, perhaps things wouldn't spiral out of control. With a twist of the ignition, the engine roared to life, but the noise seemed swallowed by the chaos around them. The ground shook again, and Jake gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles white. "Stay close to the trucks. Move," Jake yelled, watching his crew struggle to group together amid the eruption of dust and fear. People were rushing, confusion flooding the site. He caught sight of Mark, struggling with a piece of equipment that had fallen off a nearby crate. "Come on, Mark. Forget it," Jake shouted. "Just get in." "No, I can't leave it," Mark yelled back, desperation in his tone. The ground tremored again, harder this time. "Mark, you have to trust me." Jake felt a surge of determination. "We'll replace it. Your life is worth more than that." With one last glance, Mark sprinted into the truck, fear etched across his face. Jake refocused, anxiety rising within him like a tidal wave. There was no time to waste. He threw the truck in drive, ready to floor it out of the sight. But before he could, the earth beneath them cracked loudly, its sound a bone-chilling reminder of how unstable everything was. Jake's heart sank as he saw the fissures deepen, dark veins creeping ever closer to the vehicles. "Let us go, let us go." He surged forward, wheels spinning in the dirt as he navigated the truck away from the danger. Behind them, the team stumbled out of the imminent threat, hearts racing. Jake glanced at Emma. She looked back at him with a mix of fear and gratitude, her breath coming out in quick bursts. A promise flickered in her gaze. They would get through this. But then the ground broke open with a horrifying roar, pulling at the very foundation of their sanctuary. A heavy weight fell upon his heart. "Hold on." He hit the gas, their truck flying out of the sight. Dust kicked up behind them like a wave crashing against a shore. The chaos of the construction zone faded slowly, but it left a bitter tang of adrenaline in the air. As they reached the nearest road, Jake glanced at his crew, a mix of relief and shock on their faces. Did we make it?" Mark whispered, uncertainty lacing his words. "We did," Jake replied, his voice steadier than he felt. "We're safe for now." Yet a knot of anxiety remained in his gut. The tension didn't dissipate. It morphed instead into dread. His phone buzzed again, and he reluctantly pulled it from his pocket, a horrifying anticipation churning within him. It was another message from his dad. "Not sure how much more I can take, son." This was the storm he hadn't prepared for, one raging far beyond the worksite's boundaries. The weight of his father's words pressed down, making it hard to breathe. A heaviness settled in the cab as Emma turned to Jake, her eyes searching his. "What's going on? You look like you've just seen a ghost." "I think we've just been through a different kind of disaster," Jake murmured, his mind racing. The ground beneath them might have settled for now, but he felt everything else home, family teetering on the brink. And as the realization sunk deeper, he knew he couldn't ignore this. He wouldn't just be fighting tremors beneath their feet. He was about to face the biggest quake of his life. What would he find when he returned to that storm at home? Would he break, or could he pick up the pieces blazing from his father's pain? The drive back home was a blur of dirt roads and towering trees, but the weight pressing down on Jake's heart was heavier than any shifting ground. Each minute ticked away as his mind spiraled into the storm brewing at home. Emma sat silently beside him, her hand resting on his knee, a reassuring presence in the chaos of his thoughts. What if my dad can't handle this?" Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. "What if this is too much for him?" "Jake, you're strong. You've got this," Emma replied, her voice soothing yet assertive. "You've faced a storm at work today. You can face this at home too." The words enveloped him, yet unease coursed through him. A familiar torrent of self-doubt swirled in his gut. What if he couldn't help his dad? What if he showed up as this lazy brother who couldn't do anything right? The voices of his past echoed in his mind like a broken record. Then he remembered the laughter at the construction site, the thrill of lifting that beam. "Breathe, Jake. The man you were yesterday is gone. You're different now." As they approached the house, the faded walls felt like they were closing in on him. Their neighborhood was the same yet changed, peeling paint, cracked sidewalks, the weight of expectations palpable. His heart raced as he parked and stepped out, the air thick with the scent of rain-soaked earth. "Let us do this," he said, taking a steadying breath. Emma nodded, giving him a small, encouraging smile. Inside, the house was dim shadows playing off the walls like memories of struggles untold. His mom sat in her old chair, eyes bloodshot with worry, and when she saw him, the flicker of hope returned. But it was quickly drowned by the weight of despair. "Jake," she breathed, sorrow etched on her face. "Your father, he's not doing well." "Mom, I want to talk to him," Jake said, stepping into the living room. He swallowed hard, heart pounding as he walked toward the closed door of his father's room. Silence filled the air like a thick mist. He knocked gently, waiting for the familiar voice he both longed for and dreaded. "Dad?" "Come in," came the weak reply. Opening the door, Jake was met with a sight that broke his heart. His dad sat on the edge of the bed, shoulders slumped, a shell of the man he used to be. The room was cluttered with remnants of a life once lived, the old baseball glove, a framed picture of better days. "Jake," his father croaked, eyes searching his son's face for a flicker of that familiar strength. Jake swallowed hard, emotions crashing like waves. "Dad, I want to talk. About everything. You don't have to take on my burdens." "Son," his father replied, voice trembling. "I've messed up. I don't want to bring you down with me." "No, you're not bringing me down," Jake insisted, stepping closer. "These past few weeks have been hard on both of us. But I'm here now. Let me share what's going on with me, what I've been doing. Maybe we can find our way back together." Jake's heart raced as he poured out about the job, about lifting that beam, the camaraderie he found at the construction site, and how it wasn't just a job but a pathway to do something more meaningful. As he spoke, he could see a spark igniting in his father's eyes. "You've really changed, haven't you?" "I'm still figuring it out," Jake replied, sincerity washing over him. "But I want you to know I'm not afraid of the storm anymore. I want to face it together, both of us." With each word, he felt the weight of their shared burdens begin to lift. His father looked up, something shifting in his expression, hope mingling with the threads of uncertainty. "Jake, I can't promise everything will be all right, neither can I," Jake interjected, voice steady. "But together we can weather this storm. I'm here for you, Dad, just as you've been here for me." Tears welled in his father's eyes. But there was something else there too, a lightness that hadn't been there before. "You've grown into such a man," his dad said, his voice cracking. "I'm so proud of you." Walking over, Jake embraced him tightly. Emotions cascaded like a waterfall. "We'll get through this, one step at a time." As they stayed there, holding on to hope and starting anew, Jake knew this was the true transformation he needed, not just for himself, but for his family. Together, they could build a foundation stronger than before. That night, as he lay in bed, a sense of peace enveloped him. The past couldn't be erased, but the future was bright with possibility. Uncertainty gave way to hope. He felt ready for whatever awaited him, knowing he wasn't alone anymore. Tomorrow was a new day. The horizon glimmered with the promise of better days ahead. Jake had changed, and now there was nothing stopping him from rising again. And as he closed his eyes, he whispered, "I'm ready. This is your moment to shine." If you felt inspired by Jake's journey, you need to subscribe right now. Don't miss the exclusive stories that could change your life. Leave a like now to feed that algorithm. And let's reach more dreamers like you. We want to hear from you. Comment your feelings about this emotional ending below. Your words matter. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let's spread the inspiration together.